The innovative design of the Nintendo 64 controller was too complex for computer modeling and had to be done in clay. The controller featured a built-in expansion port for a memory card or Rumble Pak. The Rumble Pak was released in April of 1997 to coincide with the release of Star Fox 64. Using two AAA batteries, power would spin the shaft of the electric motor. Unbalanced weights on the shaft would try to wobble. The wobble translated to vibrations since the motor is securely mounted. In response to the Rumble Pak's popularity, Sony released the DualShock controller in May of 1998 in North America. This gameplay feedback feature would become a standard for every following generation and built into the controller.
What's up, Raven Gamer here with my Nintendo 64 controller. It's a SharkPad Pro made by Interact. I'm going to take it apart, give it a nice detailed cleaning. I haven't played my Nintendo 64 in quite a few years, so it's in pretty rough shape. There's actually cobwebs in the expansion port. Because this is not made by Nintendo, I shouldn't need a tri-wing screwdriver. It looks like it's just Phillips. They're recessed pretty far though, so we'll get this apart and see what's going on the inside. And my next video, I'm going to take apart a Nintendo 64 and give it a cleaning because, like I stated, I haven't played it in quite a while. So we have 8 screws in total on the back of this control pad. There are 2 of them down in the expansion port. We'll get those out last. Okay, here on the back half, you can see the Z trigger right there. And here we have the analog control motor, I guess. The circuit board, the expansion port. Looks like some capacitors. Not really much going on in there. So next we're going to take this, disassemble all this. Take out the L and R shoulder buttons and set those to the side. Have these on the inside right here. Let's take those out. It appears that the entire circuit board, it looks like it's only really held on with these 4 screws that are holding the analog joystick to the plastic of the controller. So we're going to go ahead and remove those and see if we can get the circuit board out. Okay, once you have the screws on the analog stick removed, there is one tiny Phillips head right here that's actually holding this side of the circuit board on. Once you have that removed, just lift up gently on the circuit board and come right out. Okay, most controllers and systems have a ribbon clip which, attaches the ribbon to the circuit board, but this one, it seems like it's actually permanently fastened with this mounting board right here, which this mounting board seems to control the auto fire on this particular control pad, and there are a few very hard to reach screws in there. So we're going to see if we can get to those and remove those. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a really tight fit. The first one seems a bit easy to get to, but the 2 on the bottom, I'm not so sure about, but we'll see if we can't do it. After you remove the circuit board, most of my buttons have already fallen out of the system, as you can see, out of the controller, but the ones that haven't, we will go ahead and finish removing those and set those to the side. Remove the membranes and the D-pad comes out, set those to the side, and then that is plastic. Okay, this is the circuit board itself, and here's that little piece that was mounted to the front half of the plastic, which controls the auto fire and slow fire, whatever that is. Ooh, membrane. Go ahead and take that off. There's not a whole lot going on with this circuit board. It does look pretty. It looks a little bit intimidating, obviously. It's a little bit more high-tech than its predecessors. Okay, now, a lot of us use these controllers, but we ourselves don't really exactly know how they work. And how this works is that each button, and in the case of, say, the D-pad, each arm has a little metal disc, which is this right here underneath of it. And when you push down on the button, it pushes down on this metal disc, and the metal disc makes connection with two metal strips that are underneath of it. When the metal disc comes into contact with those two metal strips, it conducts electricity between the two strips and sends that data to the Nintendo 64's CPU. The CPU in the system will compare that data to information stored in the software of the system, and it'll trigger the appropriate response. So the circuit board, especially around the analog stick, is quite a mess, and we're going to clean that up. On the plastic, we're going to use light Windex, but on the circuit board, if there's any dust on that, we're just going to wipe that down with a cotton swab. Now, how the analog stick itself works is actually a lot more complicated than the buttons themselves, but not really high-tech in today's standards. It works quite a bit like the old ball mouses that everybody used to have. There are two wheels positioned at 90-degree angles just underneath of the joystick itself. Each wheel's perimeter has little tiny slots in it, and they're mounted between two LED lights, two light emitting diodes, LEDs, and the light will slightly shine through the slotting on the wheels. Now, as you move the joystick and it slightly moves each wheel, then the light will shine through that little tiny slot in the wheel, and it'll be picked up on a photo cell. When the light hits the photo cell, then it will there will be a slight current. When the light level changes, then the amount of current changes. By monitoring the output of each of the photo cells, then the Nintendo 64 determines the exact angle that you're holding the stick, and it triggers whatever the correct response is, whether it's controlling your camera angle, moving your player, or moving, say, some crosshairs on the screen. So we're going to set this circuit board to the side for now. Okay, like I said, we are going to be cleaning the plastic. Now, this we can actually dunk this in water, because there's nothing on it, no metal, no nothing like that. We just need to make sure it's completely dry before we put it together. And then we're going to use some window cleaner to give it a nice shine. And the buttons, we're going to do the same thing with, the exact same thing with, we're going to dunk those in water because they're pretty grimy, and then we're going to use some window cleaner to detail them. Okay, now we cleaned up the controller. It looks a lot better than it did, and we just need to put all the buttons back together. We're going to start with these C buttons, just so we can get those out of the way. And like every other controller, their prongs will fit into specific wells, so it's really hard to mix them up and put them in the wrong places. We'll place our start button, and then this goes right on the back of it. Now we're going to replace our A and B button. D-pad. Okay, now for our D-pad, and the D-pad has this notch right on the side of it. That has to fit into this notch right on the plastic. Then we replace our membrane, and these will fit onto these diagonal posts right here, the two smaller of the 4 posts. And then this membrane just sits beneath of the A, B, and the C buttons. And finally, our analog stick. We're just going to, for now, just place it into this. Okay, I want to mention one more thing specifically. When I put the controller together, I noticed that the L and R button didn't have any spring to it. And the reason the buttons were, for the most part, incorrectly. The only thing that was wrong was that this plastic little rubber piece here was flipped like that, so it wasn't giving it any spring. So I took it back apart and, realized the problem. So when you put these in, just make sure that it looks like this, because that way when you push in, it gives it that springiness, that spring back up. Now, Nintendo was among the first companies to use an analog stick. Shortly after the Nintendo 64 was released, Sony, in response to the popularity of the analog control system, released its DualShock and its dual analog controllers. The DualShock controller was meant to compete with the Rumble Pak, which was just as popular. Prior to the Nintendo 64, the Atari joystick, Sony's joystick, and the Sega Saturn's analog mission stick were the only systems that had ever used any kind of a joystick or an analog stick or anything like that. Okay, we have our controller back together. All I have left is I'm going to clean up this cord and the pins. If you notice, there's 3 pins in there. The center pin carries the data to the Nintendo 64 CPU, and then the right pin is for, I believe it's power, and then the left one I think is ground, or it might be the other way around. But anyway, I'm going to give this a nice cleaning, and that's about it though. The controller looks a hell of a lot better than it did, and the buttons feel really nice. All I need to do is to plug it into the system and try it out. So here are the tools that I usually use when I'm taking these apart. This is actually my gunsmithing screwdrivers. The bits are mainly for gunsmithing, but it does have some small bits, so it does let me get in there. Mainly for Nintendo controllers, though, I use this tri-wing screwdriver, which is a low-quality tri-wing. It costs like, I don't know, $1.99 off eBay, but it's going to get stripped soon, so it'll be worthless. And then of course I have my 4.5 and 3/8 millimeter security bits, and I just picked this up. This I really like, just came in the mail, and it's really nice. It has a magnetic screwdriver, sits on the top, and it's a precision screwdriver kit for electronics and stuff like that. It's got a tri-wing screwdriver in here. I mean, just about every bit imaginable is in here, and it's good solid metal. It's at least chrome plated, so it's nice. It works good. I used it on this controller when I took it apart. So I guess if you see one of these and want to pick it up, I would definitely suggest it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you can see more of my new videos. And the quality should be getting a lot better as soon as I get my computer fixed. But until then, I think these videos are coming out pretty good, and I hope you guys enjoy them. I try to make them as interesting as possible. I mean, a lot of times we spend our childhoods playing these games, and we never really know much of anything about the interior of them, so it's just nice to take them apart and see what's going on the inside. Anyway, I am the Raven Gamer.